Hello everyone, welcome to yet another day in this Clown Decade, the decade where things are only going to get worse before they get better. And I've had enough about talking about the right wing recently. Let's have a go at how stupid the left wing are, specifically Labour. So let's just jump into this one. Angela Rayner asked to go on safari during official trip to Ethiopia. The Deputy Prime Minister was in East African country to meet leaders and help the region develop AI, number 10 says. And while they're on an official visit, she was cheeky enough to ask, "Oh, is there time for a quick safari?" And it's exactly this type of attitude which leads people to becoming elitists, I will say that much. So Rayner asked to go on a personal safari during an official trip to Ethiopia last month, the Times have been told. The Deputy Prime Minister visited the East African country in February on a diplomatic visit, where she met leaders and witnessed the signing of an investment agreement. Two government sources said that while Rayner asked accompanying officials whether she could use the opportunity to go on a safari tour, civil servants were said to have told Rayner that the excursion would not be possible on an official trip, and one source said she was told that's not how these things work. Rayner's office did not deny the claims, instead saying the itinerary was agreed in advance and this was not part of it. And so it's that classic chancer thing. I'm here in Africa, I've always wanted to go on a safari. Oh, while I'm here, can I just have a cheeky day or two in a safari? No, you cannot, Angela Rayner. You are supposed to be representing the British people while here. And frankly, acting in this cheeky way is not becoming of the Deputy Prime Minister. You're in a, frankly, sacred position. And you are clearly abusing it here with the moniker of don't ask, don't get. The thing is that you're not really supposed to do that when you are an adult asking for things that, well, cost an awful lot of money and you frankly seem to be expecting to get it for free. A spokesman added, the Deputy Prime Minister carried out diplomatic business and humanitarian engagements to demonstrate the UK's commitment to the region and promote ambitions for partnerships and mutual economic growth. And she should have stuck to that, but no, she had to ask for the safari. The Tory party have criticised the week-long trip, which also included time in Ghana, arguing it took Rayner away from her role as Housing and Communities Secretary. Oh, come on, she's also Deputy Prime Minister. That's not a great criticism here. I don't know why they said that. The cost of flying Rayner and officials to and from Africa through a combination of business and economy flights was more than 20,000, according to Guido Fawkes' news site. I do not care. That is peanuts. That is less than a rounding error in public finances. That is fine. Why are the right wing starting to do left wing arguments here? Why do you care that it costs £20,000 for your Deputy Prime Minister to have an official state visit to Africa? Of course it's going to cost £20,000. They are representing our state. I want them to fly in comfort. Because odds are they're going to be working on the plane as well. It's completely fine. Rayner met Mahmoud Ali Yusuf, chairman of the African Union Commission, and Abiy Ahmed, the Ethiopian Prime Minister, as well as Ghana's President and Foreign Minister. She also visited the Ethiopian Artificial Intelligence Institute, attended the signing of a $300 million investment deal between British private equity firm and the Ethiopian government, and discussed expansion plans for the state-owned Ethiopian Airlines. I mean, this is just all coming down to the big problems I have with the British state at the moment. Why does our Deputy Prime Minister need to go over to Africa to sign over a deal for British private equity firms? It's because they're so regulated. I would rather they just weren't this regulated and could make these deals by themselves. Or better yet, just invest in Britain itself and get rid of our AI and technological regulations, which, to be fair, ours are better than the EU. However, they could still be better. To be fair, it looks like the Tories actually had a more specific argument than just, why is she in Africa? So you'd think she'd have enough on her plate. This is the Shadow Housing Secretary, Kevin Hollinrake. You'd think she'd have enough on her plate dealing with the realities of setting a totally unrealistic target of building 1.5 million homes. That's probably actually not that unrealistic. It's probably just completely pointless if you're going to get rid of an awful lot of immigrants anyway by, well, not giving them free homes, I suppose. Abolishing every district and county council in England and trying to save the high street from disastrous impact of massive tax hikes and new employment red tape. That is true, by the way. Noticeably, there have been shops closing in my recent nearby village high street. Shops have been closing. I think I've seen about 3 or 4 of them at this point, and I don't think it's going to be any better as time goes on, because the economy has ground to a halt under Rachel Reeves, but we'll get into her in a minute. Clearly she has more important things to do than swan around the world, and not only that, I think that's more of a complaint about asking to go on safari rather than the deal that she's trying to make for private equity firms to invest in AI in Ethiopia. Again, why not just do it here? Well, because they want soft power in in Africa, and genuinely probably not a bad idea to do it because it's similar to what China are doing. The thing is that you probably need to be outbidding China here, but we can't do that because China manufacture all our stuff. Number 10 defended the trip and said it was part of her role to support the government's international agenda. Yeah, fine. The Prime Minister's spokesman said she's in Ethiopia to develop UK ambitions for the region. UK companies have played an important role in strengthening financial markets in Ethiopia. We'll be working with Ethiopia to develop AI. Totally fine. The safari thing, though, absolutely ridiculous. That part is swanning about. There's plenty of areas in the UK-Ethiopia partnership which support UK businesses. I'm sure there are. Anyway, Rachel Reeves has defended taking free Sabrina Carpenter tickets. This is not back in the autumn of last year when the Freebies scandal was absolutely massive. No, this was an article from 2 days ago. Chancellor Rachel Reeves has defended accepting free tickets to Sabrina Carpenter concert, adding she will declare them. Again, this was the excuse every time it was brought up last time. Oh, I'm declaring it, it's fine. No, it's not. The problem a lot of people have is blatant corruption. Just because you're declaring it doesn't mean you're not corrupt. It's like the whole Arsenal thing. When Keir Starmer took an Arsenal box season ticket or whatever it was, and people were like, oh, he just likes football, what's wrong with that? They're planning to make a football regulator. Is it not obvious what's wrong with that? Speaking to the BBC's Sunday with Lauren Kusenberg, Reeves said she attended the concert a couple of weeks ago with a family member. I do now have security, which means it's not as easy as it would have been in the past to just sit in a concert, she said. Well, pay for it yourself then. Prime Minister Keir Starmer tightened rules on ministers accepting gifts and hospitality in November after he and a number of his cabinet ministers faced criticisms over donations. Well, it's not been tight enough, clearly. Keir paid back more than £6,000 worth of his own gifts and hospitality that he received since becoming Prime Minister after the backlash. The figure included the cost of 6 Taylor Swift tickets. Well, that's good of him. It's barely anything either. I mean, as soon as Keir Starmer retires, he's not a billionaire, he's nowhere near a billionaire, but he is a multi-millionaire. Nevertheless, the Prime Minister did defend his acceptance of corporate hospitality from the Arsenal Football Club in September, citing security as his reason for doing so. Again, they are trying to make a football regulator in Britain. The FA I think the FA came out and said that would basically make it unworkable for European cups, but they're still probably going to do it. And again, Arsenal giving him a free box. Will they want anything in return? Oh no, of course they won't. Of course they won't. The Premier League Football Club made 2 seats available for Keir Starmer in the corporate area of the Emirates Stadium. The Prime Minister explained at the time that he had been advised that necessary security costs for him to sit in the stands would cost the taxpayer more. You can just pay for that yourself, you know. Reeves was asked by Kusenberg why she did not pay for the tickets, and the Chancellor responded that there were not tickets you could pay for. There wasn't a price to those tickets, she said, as she underlined that she would declare the value of them. Okay, there's no price, but I will put the price down when I declare them. Her confirmation follows reports from a number of media outlets on the story earlier this week. In September, the Chancellor said she would not accept clothing donations while in her current role after it emerged that she accepted such donations while in opposition. She has been one of the number of Labour politicians who faced questions after accepting thousands of pounds worth of clothes as gifts before the election. She previously told the BBC that accepting donations to pay for clothes was not something she had planned to do as a government minister, and yet obviously she did. Reeves would receive a salary as an MP which was £91,000, my god, as well as an additional sum for being a minister. The salary of Chancellor of the Exchequer for the financial year of 2022 to 2023 was £67,505. Again, the point of bringing this up is the fact that she could have paid for Sabrina Carpenter tickets. Keir Starmer paid for his Taylor Swift tickets, although he obviously paid it back rather than paid it in the first place. But if that's the case, you can accept free tickets and say, here's money so that it doesn't look like I'm taking a gift off you for the value that they are worth. Did she do that? No, she didn't. It's amazing they are still doing this after the harumph everyone got into last time. How are you still doing this? To be fair here, the article then goes into Tory freebies that are still being accepted. So Shadow Chancellor Mel Strad was also quizzed about gifts on Sunday with Laura Kusenberg with respect to ski passes and BAFTA tickets accepted by Shadow Business Secretary Andrew Griffith. Griffith's registered interests, which are detailed on Parliament's website, include declaration of 2 tickets with hospitality to the 2025 British Academy Film Awards, or the BAFTAs, estimated to be worth £4,000. The Shadow Business Secretary has also declared discounted ski passes and guiding for 2 worth £975 for a trip to Switzerland in January. Stride said on the Sunday that he does not know the specifics, but speaking of both Griffiths and Reeves, Stride said, "I think it's for them to justify what they do." Griffiths said to the BBC, "Clearly my attacks on Labour's devastating impact on business have got under someone's skin." He added that he diligently registers hospitality he receives and did so for 2 cited instances. Again, I don't care. You're missing the point if you think registering it's fine. The problem everyone has is that you're taking these gifts in the first place because it is showing signs of corruption. You are happy to take these gifts, this money in some cases, whatever, and everyone knows intuitively that it's in return for something. And it stinks of corruption every time. There's no such thing as a free lunch. That's just the basics here. Registering it does not help. Anyway, to finish this one off, let's get into actual direct corruption allegations. Her aunt's regime disappeared people, so why did Starmer make her a minister? Yes, this is the story of Tulip Siddiq, who was the anti-corruption minister and has been caught in a multinational corruption scandal with her family. So when Mir Ahmed bin Qasim was abducted at night by armed men from his home in Bangladesh, his 4-year-old daughter was too young to understand what was happening. "They were dragging me away and I was barefoot," he tells me, sobbing. "My youngest daughter was running behind me with my shoes, saying, 'Take, father,' as if she thought I was going away." He was held in solitary for 8 years, handcuffed and blindfolded, and yet still does not know where or why. The British-trained barrister, 40, is one of Bangladesh's so-called disappeared. These were critics of Sheikh Hasina, the country's prime minister of more than 20 years, in 2 terms until she was deposed last August. Hasina's regime ruled over the worst violence Bangladesh has seen since its War of Independence in 1971, in which hundreds were killed, including at least 90 people, while she clung to power on her last day in office. Sounds nasty, what's it got to do with Labour? Well, controversial in her own right, Hasina is also the aunt of Labour MP Tulip Siddiq, who resigned as Prime Minister Keir Starmer's anti-corruption minister last week after a slew of corruption allegations that she denied. These include claims Siddiq's family embezzled up to $3.9 billion from infrastructure spending in Bangladesh, and that she used properties in London linked to her aunt's allies. The government's ethics watchdog later found she did not break the ministerial code, but she resigned anyway. It's not necessarily the end of the matter, though. The episode raises troubling questions about Starmer's judgment and Labour's approach to courting the votes of people of Bangladeshi heritage. Oh, okay. They'll lose a couple of boroughs in London then, okay. Questions are now swirling over why Labour failed to see it coming, given the party had long known about Siddiq's links to a scandal-hit aunt. It was 2016 when bin Qasim's case was finally raised with her. He and other Bangladeshis disappeared have represented an awkward tension with Siddiq's publicly voiced views on human rights in the years since. It's horrendous. So Siddiq long campaigned for the release from Iran of her constituent Nasrin Zaghari Ratcliffe, for example, while showing an apparent comparative indifference to her public statements to the suffering and extrajudicial killings under her aunt's regime in Bangladesh. Siddiq has also previously appeared alongside her aunt at a meeting with Russian President Vladimir Putin and appeared on BBC television as a spokesperson for the Awami League, the political party Hasina has led since 1981. Siddiq also thanked Awami League members for helping her election as a Labour MP in 2015. 2 pages on her website from 2008 and 9, setting out her links to the party, were later removed. We have literal foreign influence here, by the way. That is also something that seems to be overlooked here. Yet once in Parliament, Siddiq told journalists that she had no capability or desire to influence politics in Bangladesh. Well, that's obviously not true. So these links weren't secret, but perhaps they weren't viewed as a bad thing within Labour, not least since it has shown little sign of distancing itself from the Awami League in recent years. It's nuts. This was clearly a tinderbox. I don't know how they missed it. I can understand the argument for, you do not commit the same crimes as your family. I totally understand that. The problem is that clearly here there were direct links to her aunt, who was in the middle of a massive corruption issue and extrajudicial killings in Bangladesh. If you are open with your links to this type of party and your aunt, you can't really claim that you are no part of that. and yet that's still what she did. I mean, you get the idea with the corruption at this point, but I just want to go through this bit just to give you a bit of a black pill for, let's say, the demographics of London. So a Starmer ally argued it's perfectly legitimate for him to have met Hasina, and it did not amount to an endorsement of her policies after he met her during the Queen Elizabeth II's funeral. The apparent attempts by Labour over the years to keep Bangladesh on side might reflect the political reality here in the UK, especially in parts of London. You can't succeed in East London without understanding the Bangladeshi vote, one seasoned Labour campaigner explains. Those who fail to appreciate the country's divided and volatile politics can end up offering those they're attempting to offending those they're offering to charm. You need to carefully balance what you say and do. If you are too overt for one party, you get criticised. And this is all because the Financial Times suggests that there are at least 17 UK constituencies where the voting age Bangladeshi population is larger than the Labour majority. Thank you, Blair. Thank you, Cameron. Thank you, Boris. This has really lightened my mood. Just to make it clear, it looks like that these allegations of corruption that Tulip Siddiq was related to were basically ignored by Labour because they didn't want to lose a few constituencies with a load of Bangladeshis in. What I'm saying there is that a rather large immigration bloc has directly allowed the Prime Minister to overlook corruption and even make this corrupt individual anti-corruption minister. If that doesn't scream there is a massive problem in Britain, I don't know what does. Anyway, I think I've covered pretty much everything there. So tonight it's Tosh News. Do come along if you want to see the news of the day. Videos out as and when I can make them. If you want to help out the channel, do subscribe, leave a like, leave a comment. If you want to help a bit more directly, give me money via super chat, super thanks, or becoming a member. And with that, that's everything I had for you for today. So once again, thank you very much for watching, and until next time, goodbye.